All right. You know how sometimes a single piece of news just explodes and it kind of reshapes the whole conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've definitely got one of those today. There's been a huge development. It involves a really high-profile transgender athlete, a major university,
Mhm.
and some pretty fundamental questions about sports policy, you know?
It's definitely hitting on some big themes.
Yeah, it's more than just like a swimming story. It really gets into fairness, inclusion, big stuff. Our goal today is to really dig into what's happening, try to cut through the noise a bit.
Get to the core of it.
Exactly. Give you a clear picture of this whole evolving situation.
That's right. We're going to zero in on the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, and this recent agreement they've made with the Trump administration. It directly impacts the transgender swimmer, Lia Thomas.
Okay.
So our mission really for this deep dive is to look at the actual details, sort of dissect the different views presented in our source material
Right.
and figure out what this landmark decision might actually mean going forward.
And the main source we're using, the article guiding us, it's from Forbes, just came out July 1st, 2025.
Hot off the press.
Yeah, and the title tells you a lot. UPenn will strip transgender swimmer Lia Thomas of records and titles. Pretty blunt.
Wow. Okay.
So we're going to break down what the article says, the specific agreements, the bigger picture it presents.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The big headline from Forbes. Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, UPenn officially reached an agreement with the Trump administration.
Right.
And the huge part of this agreement, UPenn will strip Lia Thomas, the transgender swimmer, of her titles, her recognitions.
Okay. Wow.
And maybe even bigger, it includes a ban on trans athletes competing in women's sports at UPenn. That's a massive shift.
It really is, and it's crucial to understand why this happened, at least according to the source material.
Right. What led to this?
Well, the Trump administration basically alleged that UPenn had violated Title IX provisions.
Title IX. Okay, maybe a quick reminder for listeners.
Sure. Title IX is it's a federal civil rights law. It essentially bars sex-based discrimination in any education program or activity that gets federal funding.
Like university sports programs.
Exactly. It's often seen as, the foundation for equal opportunity in sports. So the administration's argument was that UPenn wasn't following that law.
Wow. Okay. That's a direct charge against a major university. So what specifically did UPenn agree to do in this settlement? What does the Forbes article say?
Well, the article details several very specific actions UPenn is committed to.
Like what?
Okay, first, the university agreed it needs to apologize for, quote, violations to Title IX.
An apology. Okay.
Second, and this is a big one, UPenn has to restore titles, records, or recognitions. And the agreement itself, quoted in the Department of Education's announcement, says these were, quote, misappropriated by male athletes allowed to compete in female categories.
Misappropriated by male athletes. That's very pointed language.
Incredibly pointed, yes.
Yes.
Directly from the announcement about the agreement.
Okay, what else? An apology, restoring records.
Then the university also has to put up a public statement,
Mm-hmm.
prominently displayed on its main website.
Okay. What does the statement have to say?
It has to specify, and again, this is direct language, that UPenn will not allow males to compete in female athletic programs or occupy Pan-Athletics female intimate facilities.
Wow. So locker rooms, things like that too?
That seems to be the implication, yes. Intimate facilities.
Okay. And there was one more thing.
Yes, finally, the agreement requires UPenn to send out personalized apology letters.
Personalized to who?
To, quote, impacted female swimmers.
Personalized apology letters. It
Per-
feels very specific, almost unusual for this kind of settlement.
It really does. It sort of underscores the focus on the perceived impact on those specific athletes mentioned in the complaints that led to this.
Yeah, it speaks volumes.
Mhm. And speaking of athletes, this whole agreement, obviously it's not happening in a vacuum. It directly involves Lia Thomas. The article's photo caption even notes, contextually, that she finished 5th in the 200-yard freestyle back at the 2022 NCAA Division I Women's Championships.
And that event itself became a real flashpoint, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It really amplified the whole debate.
Yeah, and tied into that is another key person mentioned in the source, Riley Gaines.
Ah, yes.
The article describes her as a very outspoken critic of trans athletes in women's sports. And she famously tied with Lia Thomas for 5th place in that same freestyle event in 2022.
That's right, the tie.
And Gaines is quoted in the Education Department's own press release about this UPenn agreement. She said she hopes it, quote, demonstrates to educational institutions that they will no longer be allowed to trample upon women's civil rights.
That's a powerful statement from her perspective.
Very strong. How did the university UPenn respond to that kind of charge, does the article say?
It does. And this is a really crucial counterpoint included in the Forbes piece. It comes from UPenn's president, J. Larry James.
Okay, what did he say?
Well, his statement indicated that the school actually believed it was in compliance with Title IX and also with the NCAA eligibility rules that were in place during Thomas's 2021-2022 swim season.
So they thought they were following the rules at the time.
That's what their statement suggests, yes. And here's where the political context gets even clearer. The article notes this was when former President Joe Biden was in office.
Right.
And it mentions that the Biden administration had, quote, unsuccessfully attempted to establish further protections for trans athletes.
Ah.
So it highlights, without taking sides, that you have potentially very different interpretations of Title IX and the rules depending on which administration was overseeing things.
Yeah. So UPenn felt compliant under one set of federal interpretations, and now, under a different administration, they're settling an agreement based on a violation finding.
It certainly points to the shifting landscape of policy interpretation, doesn't it?
Yeah. Definitely. A stark contrast. And as Forbes points out, this isn't over. It's still very much unfolding. They mentioned they reached out to Lia Thomas for comment.
Right.
And the article itself is marked as a developing story, so more to come, potentially.
Absolutely. You know, what's really striking when you look at the agreement as laid out in the source is just how comprehensive it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes from public apologies and restoring specific records all the way to changes in facility access policy.
Right.
All of it stemming directly from these Title IX violation allegations by the administration.
Mm-hmm.
It really underscores the deep legal and policy battles going on here.
It really does. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, the listener, as you kind of process this? This deep dive into the UPenn situation, it really it shines a light on these incredibly complex, ongoing debates around inclusion versus competition in sports.
It's a tough balance people are grappling with.
Yeah. Totally. It's not just about one university or one athlete, right? It's about how civil rights are being interpreted, how we define fairness in athletics.
And how those definitions seem to be evolving.
Exactly. And what these changing policies, these shifting interpretations might mean for the future. For sports policy, yes, but also just for the athletes themselves, caught in the middle of it all. It's definitely a conversation that's going to keep going, keep shaping things for years to come, I think.